Welcome to More Than Miles, the podcast created to look deep into what it means to be a runner and endurance athlete. Our episodes are filled with real stories from real runners, elite to the everyday athlete. We bring together healthcare providers, athletes, and dive deep into topics that matter most to runners. I'm Dr. Kate Mihevik-Edwards, physical therapist, author, athlete, and complete coffee addict.
And I'm Dr. Kacy Sinders, physical therapist, athlete, and pun expert extraordinaire. We're so passionate about changing running culture to improve the health, wellness, and fulfillment of our endurance athlete community. And we hope that these conversations inspire you to focus on putting your health first so that performance and PRs can follow. Now let's get to the show.
Hey guys, we really think you're going to love this episode today. We are excited to be back in our third season after a little bit of a break, but we also got to talk to Emma Grace Hurley, or EG as we love to call her, and catch up after she has left the Atlanta Track Club and now she is living in Indianapolis. And we get to catch up with everything that she's up to, how her training is, what it's like to qualify for her first US team. And we also get to talk dogs and books. So hopefully you enjoy this episode, and we're glad to be back.
We apologize for the extended break here, but we are back for our next season, and we have an amazing guest on today. We have Emma Grace Hurley. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
We're really excited you're here. Plus, we miss you now that you're not here anymore. So this was a good excuse for us to talk.
I know. I miss you guys too.
Yeah, it was all a ploy just to catch up with you since we don't see you as much anymore.
I know.
Well, what's going on? So a lot has happened in your life in the last year. Well, specifically the last 6 months. So kind of fill us in. What's happening? How are you?
I'm doing great. About a month ago, I moved to Indianapolis to join a new team. It's called Heartland Track Club. I followed my coaches from Atlanta up here. That's Andrew and Amy Begley. And so we have a new little group. We're kind of loving it up here. We all kind of live in the same little town north of the city. So it's really great. I can walk to the girls' house. I can walk to the coach's house. We're doing good, settling in, getting back to racing, all the fun things.
Oh, that's good. Is it just you and Allie and Gemma right now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. And did you say Heartland Track Club?
Yes, that's our name. And then we'll have like some outreach that we do next fall. But for right now, we're just getting into racing and training.
Yeah, that's great. I hadn't actually heard the name yet. So I hadn't talked to Amy and heard the name, but I like it.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited about it.
Yeah. So how do you like Indianapolis?
I like it. It's been colder a few times, but it's been really good. I love the running trails here. I was kind of nervous to leave, the comfort of the river, but it's been really nice getting to explore the city that way. And yeah, we like it so far. It really feels like we're just doing the same thing, just in a different location. So that's been nice.
Yeah, it's a big change with you growing up and having lived in Georgia for so many years. We went to college elsewhere, but mostly the South. So it's a big change.
Yes, it was tough to leave, I guess, where I would consider to be home and come up here. But I've been happy here. So, that's all you can hope for.
Can you tell us a little bit about your decision to move to Indianapolis and move from the Atlanta Track Club and stay with Amy and Andrew? Because we haven't actually had that conversation yet. I was like, oh my God, EG's leaving.
No, when we talked in the spring about them leaving, I just kind of felt torn because Atlanta's where I grew up. It's where my family is. But when I really thought about it, just where I wanted my career to go, I really believe in them and believe in what they've planned for me. And, a lot of people would have someone like me and either make me just run on the track or move straight up to the marathon. And so I really appreciate that they kind of let me do a blend of I have goals in the marathon and the half marathon someday, but they want to take our time and really make sure we kind of fully develop those shorter distance before we get there. And that's just something I think is so rare in a coach to kind of almost take their ego out of it and be like, well, we might be able to have more immediate success, but it'd be better for her if we wait on that for a little bit. And so that was just something that, and just, getting along with them. But I feel like I raced really well with their training and, with kind of the way they talk about and think about things. And so it it almost took the choice away, even though it was really difficult to leave where my parents are and where the majority of my friends are. It just didn't really feel like a huge thing that I had to think through, just with how much trust I had in them.
Yeah, so speaking of versatility, so you recently came in second at the USATF Cross Country Championship. Very, very exciting. I was so excited to open up my phone and see the post there. Can you give us a race recap?
I was just really excited to have done that well on the day, just going into it with having been in Florida last year versus now training in anything from, I guess, like probably 40 to like 60 degrees colder. I just had no idea where fitness was at. And I knew that just given kind of the last few months of last year, not really having an injury coming out of the season like I had the previous year, that I should be ahead of where I was. I just wasn't sure like what anything meant anymore, because all of a sudden, like 10 seconds slower for what I would run in like a mile rep last year felt way harder. And it was apparently just because it was cold. But for the actual race, I just wasn't sure what to expect. So I just tried to sit in that pack and, just kind of not make any big moves. I did end up kind of sitting towards the front of the pack because we had to jump over some things. And I remember from my steeplechase days, I didn't want to be the short person caught behind like a tall person's legs. Even if it was like just a hay bale, I was like, that could be a disaster. So I did position myself kind of towards the front, but by no means, I don't think I was pushing the pace at all. And so I just kind of wanted to see what happened. And we had a huge pack almost through 4,000 meters, which I was a little bit surprised about. I thought it would kind of break up a little bit faster. And then around 4,000 meters, it was a 5-loop course. So we did 5 2,000-meter loops. Going into that third loop, Wayne kind of made a move, broke away from the pack. And I kind of found myself in a spot where Wayne and another girl were about 20 meters ahead of me, and the rest of the pack was about 20 meters behind me. And it was a bit earlier than I wanted to find myself alone, but I just decided to focus on the people in front of me and just see what would happen there. So I was really pleased to come away with second. That was a little better than I had really thought that I could do. I thought, if I had my perfect day, that might be where I end up, but I didn't think it was going to be my perfect day. So I was just really excited. And, I felt the whole time I just wanted to feel like I had one more little gear in me in case like something happened, and all of a sudden I was fighting for sixth. And so I was really pleased to even come through like even 9,000 meters feeling like I could respond if someone passed me. So I was really pleased with the day.
Yeah, we were all cheering and very excited to see you as well.
You?
We were just talking about, because Kacy went to the trials in Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just talking about how not a lot of people really understand how we get really excited about running, and we're cheering, and there aren't, unless we're like talking to each other or like you guys, there aren't a lot of people that were like, did you see the race? Did you see what happened?
I know. Oh my goodness. I watched the trials on the Peacock live stream, and it was such an incredible race. I'm so jealous that you were actually there.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I watched it when I got home yesterday. I was like making fun of myself because it was like, I took a day off from work to drive 7 hours to watch this race in person, just did running the entire weekend. And then the first thing I do when I have free time is come home and watch the race on TV.
Well, it's two different views,
Yeah, I mean, I had it streaming on my phone, so I was kind of going between, because you wanted to know like when they were coming and then what was happening in between. It was just easier to like just watch the stream than to follow like the tracker. We could kind of tell what's happening, but I wanted to see like when did they make the moves, like when did the race break apart,
Yeah, because I'm assuming you were waiting like 8 miles until they came around again.
Yeah, we were on the 8-mile loop, so we got to see them 3 times, but it was like significantly different race. It was like the first lap, everyone looked great. Second lap, everyone looked soaked and sweaty and borderline miserable. And then third lap, people looked very miserable. Not everyone, but we saw some carnage for sure.
Yeah, I noticed that it heated up pretty significantly towards the end.
Yeah, we were standing around like right at noon, and we're like, gosh, could you imagine if the race started now? It would have been even more brutal.
Yes. Well, good thing it wasn't then.
I know I was watching it on my phone in the car while Brian was driving, and I'm yelling at the phone, and Andy in the back seat is like, "Mom, what are you doing? What are you watching? Why are you yelling at the phone?" And Brian's like, "She's watching running, Andy." He's like, "You're watching running?" Really funny.
That's awesome. Yeah. I can't say I yelled at the TV for the marathon, but I've definitely yelled at the TV, like if I'm live streaming Allie or Gemma race, like in the last week.
Oh, so yeah.
I totally understand.
I have been too, watching the few indoor meets the past couple of weeks, and my dog looks at me like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, I mean, we get into it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I just feel like they can feel your energy through the TV. Like if you can convey something, maybe they feel it a little.
Yeah, they've got to. They've got to know that you're cheering for them. So you made your first U.S. team.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us, I mean, how are you just like through the moon? Are you excited? What's preparation look like?
I'm so excited. I can't wait to go. And I'm especially like so happy that it's cross country because, that's like really a team sport. And so I'm so excited. I just, I hope we do well as a team. But we have kind of off-roaded in practice a little bit, which has been super fun. Like, I feel like I'm going back to like almost like college cross country days, even though we're definitely off-roading a bit more than we would have done then. So that's been really exciting to get to do just like some fun things like that. But largely training looks the same. I'm actually going up to Boston to run a 3K this weekend. So we'll see. Who knows? Yeah. If that, because it's not even like 6K cross country fitness. It's like 10K cross country fitness. So we'll see if I can run fast. That'll be interesting. But I'm really excited to kind of like go to Serbia. It's just so far away, but I'm already so excited to go.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I've not been there. I'm sure not many of us have.
Yeah, I'm excited that it's there, though, because that's one of those places I feel like you would only go if you have a reason to go. So I'll get to see it.
Yeah. Have you already planned everything? I mean, are your travel plans set? Are you going to stay early or stay late? And
I'll leave here 4 days before the race, and I'll get in 3 days because it's a long travel. And now I have to connect twice instead of once. So it's a long travel day. So it'll take about 18 hours to get there.
Wow.
From what I can tell. But I'll get in on the 27th and we'll race on the 30th. And then we leave again on the 31st.
Okay. So it's a pretty quick trip.
Mm-hmm, pretty quick. And the nice thing about coming home is you pick up almost a whole day.
Yes, you do. So on a trip like that, you have to think about a lot of different things to get ready for the race in terms of like recovery and sleep and just all of those little things that go into running. Do you have are you going into it with a plan about your sleep and your nutrition and what you're going to do ahead of the race?
I've thought about the sleeping part a little bit because one of the flights is overnight and I'm not really a plane sleeper. So I may try to get in some naps on I think I have 3 trips for races before then. So I may try to work on that a bit. But other than that, I think just as consistent as I can be with what I do here. And I'm a good sleeper. I'm a very consistent sleeper. Like if I miss one night, I don't think that that's going to really matter too much. I think the bigger thing is just making sure that on the layovers, I'm getting a good meal and just making sure that, once I get there, I make sure that there's food available. But I'm more just trying to be as consistent as I can be leading up to it because I know that travel can be crazy and a million things can happen. A million things can happen when you're getting one flight. There's so many more that could happen when you're getting 3 different ones. So just trying to front load the good.
And then not just for Serbia, but generally speaking, like you said, you're going to Boston this weekend for travel. I think traveling as an athlete can be really challenging just because you're used to certain routines and doing different things. What does your race bag look like? What do you pack every time you're traveling for a race or, getting ready to go somewhere to make sure that you're in a good spot?
The biggest thing that I do is that's just making sure everything happens is anything that I'm planning to race in is in my carry-on. And if it's a race with super shoes, a little bit more I'll only bring 1 pair of those. But for spikes, I'll bring 2 pairs of the same shoe just to make sure if something happens, I have a second pair. in the bag. Other than that, just making sure I have like more than enough. Cause like what if you're there an extra day? Like you need an extra running outfit. But my biggest thing is just making sure that whatever I need for like actual race day is in my carry-on or like on my person somewhere.
Yeah. So I was hoping you were going to say something like, I carry a lacrosse ball and some bands to do glute exercises.
That's true. Well, of course, I feel like that was more of a given.
I just kind of picking on you anyway.
Resistance bands, because we all know I have feet problems.
I wasn't going to bring up your feet on the podcast, EG.
We've spent so much time talking about them.
Oh, that's really funny. Well, that's good. I'm glad to know that you're also carrying those things in your bag.
Yes, I'm carrying those things too. Oh.
How are your feet since we're talking about them?
They're doing great. I think you guys cured them.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I think this is the longest, actually, like consistent lack of foot and or calf problems that I've had since 2018. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's really good news. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
Do you guys, what's it like up there in terms of care? And now that we're talking about that, because I didn't even think about it. Like, do you have a massage therapist that you get to see regularly, or do you have any like providers? Or are you just kind of patching things? Like, what's going on?
So for me, I haven't seen anyone up here yet, but I do have the contact information for a massage therapist and a physical therapist that I plan to reach out to once I get a few more like things around like my personal like logistics with running settled. So ideally, like after US indoors, I hope to kind of get like in a more regular routine, but I haven't seen anyone up here yet. It was just would make me miss you guys. But no, I do have kind of like the providers that I have kind of asked a couple of people about to see like who's good, who can you go see, who's running specific. Because, running specific is just kind of hard to find because, a lot of people are sports in general, but, it's just hard to be at this level and see someone who's like more of like a general like sport. You really need someone who knows running, who knows track to do what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's why now we have the whole it's now running medicine, and we're taught, even it's kind of cool that we've gotten to that point. Cause when I first, now here I go sounding old again. But when I first came out of PT school, like, there weren't like a lot of running medicine PTs out there. And we kind of like made it a thing for those of us that were really super obsessed and really wanted to understand and break down the biomechanics. So you're right.
That's so cool. I mean, I remember when in college when we got an athletic trainer who was very specific to running and was someone who like ran marathons himself. Like we were so excited that like, and that was only like 5 years ago now. So yeah, I feel like it's come a long way.
I'm actually thinking, I think that I have a friend in Indianapolis that, she's a triathlete and runner, and she's a PT that went to PT school with me. I think she still lives there. I'll reach out to her.
Ooh, I'm accepting recommendations.
I wonder if she's listening right now. I won't say her name.
No, so I want to know, what else are you racing prior to Worlds?
So the plan right now is to go to Boston this weekend, hopefully run a fast enough 3K to run US indoors the following week in Albuquerque, and then I plan on running Gate River Run in Jacksonville before Worlds. So kind of doing a little under distance, a little over distance, and then the main focus being running cross country at the end of March.
Awesome. Well, I will see you at Gate River Run then. I'll be down there as well.
I'm so excited. That was one of my favorite races last year, so I'm so excited to go back.
Yeah, so actually when I was crossing the finish line, they were like recapping the professional races. And when I like heard that you got second, I was like so excited. I was like dying. Then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was so surprised. Oh yeah, and we had that cute picture afterwards and Kelsey that was fun.
Yeah.
And that'll actually, I think, be the first time I've seen my parents since moving up here. So I'm extra excited for that weekend.
Oh, awesome. They're going to come down.
That's the plan right now. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's great. And are you planning to come to Atlanta anytime in the near future?
I haven't thought about it. I, would love to, but I feel like there's so many races on the calendar that I don't know if I'll get there before the fall. If I do, I'll come see you guys. But Yeah, I honestly haven't thought about the first time I'll go back and visit yet.
Yeah. Well, it's all still new, right? How long have you been there now?
I've been here for about 6 weeks now.
Oh, yeah. It's too early to come back. You got to get in your groove.
Yes, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, that's good. So you're able to kind of go out your door, walk to where you guys are running at this point?
Yes, I feel like I got really lucky with the spot I chose to live in because I kind of found, this is so crazy. And unlike me, honestly, I saw that an apartment in the little area that I knew the coaches were living and the other girls were going to live had a parking deal. And I was just like, I don't want to pay for, I don't know why that was something that was just like such a hang up for me. But I was like, I don't want to pay like a parking fee. And this place had a parking deal. So I really hopped on the application process so I could get in before that expired. And so I ended up getting really lucky. I feel like the two like main paths here are the Monon, which is like a 20+ mile bike path that runs from downtown, like up like way north of the city. And then a path that goes along the canal, which is about 7 miles of soft surface, similar to the surface at the river. And so I actually live where those intersect.
Oh, nice.
Which is wild. So so I kind of have like the choice of which one I want to do, or if I want to do a little mixture. So I feel like I got really, really fortunate in having like not even seen the place before I signed the lease, and then showed up here and was like, where's the canal and the Monon? Oh, it's right there. Awesome.
All for parking. That's lovely.
I mean, I looked at where it was in a map, but I didn't realize it was that close. So
yeah, that's really nice. And that's really nice not having to fight the Atlanta traffic.
Oh, yes. And I had lived within, running distance or walking distance, just going right out the door to the river for like 2 years in Atlanta, which was great. But I remember that first few months that I was with the track club living in Brookhaven and having to get from Brookhaven to the river. It could take 45 minutes on any given day, and it's like 5 miles. So I felt really lucky to get this spot. Yeah,
that's really, really nice. And are you still working as well?
Yes, I do have a part-time, I call it my office job and my running job, which is really great because it's living alone. Like, it's just nice to have something else to put my mind on during the day. And it's nice to like see people over video. So actually the first thing that I like missed about Atlanta, had FOMO, was when they had the all employee meeting. I was like, oh man, like I kind of like felt sad that I wasn't at the happy hour afterwards, which was weird for that to be the first thing I missed. But other than like my parents, but that was the first thing that I was like, oh man, like I would love to be there.
Oh yeah. That's funny. No, that is really, really funny. It's nice that you can do that and remotely and everything still too.
Yeah. And it's been really great to have something just to do. Cause I know the coaches and the teammates that are here. And then like one other person from my college team lives here. So it's just, that's like 5 people. So it's just been really nice to have something that is, productive and occupies my mind and is like challenging outside of running. So it's been good.
No, that's good. And is the plan to grow the team and make it a lot bigger? And are you guys kind of looking for people right now? Do you know?
Right now, I think we're really happy with the 3 of us. It's just nice with all of us getting settled, including the coaches, in a new place, to kind of feel that sense of consistency. Even if it's a smaller group, it's the same people. I do see us growing a team in the next probably 6 months to a year to a couple people. But it is really nice to have kind of a smaller group and have like a little bit more, maybe not like focus, but like a little bit more, we're trying to do this thing together, and it's really been a good group so far.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you 3 are great. 5, I should say. 5. 5. Okay, so
other girls, how much do you run with the other girls, given that you guys have really different race distances?
Probably more than you would think, actually. We definitely, it depends. Like today we had pre-meet, and with Allie kind of racing like every weekend, she has a little bit more of like a real workout in the middle of the week, whereas I don't race every weekend. I race pretty not pretty spring, because I do still race a lot for a distance runner, but a little bit more sparingly, I had like 300s. So actually today is like one of the days that it would differ the most. But even in long runs, like we've been doing these like 2-mile pickups in the middle of our long runs. And even for those, like I might have one more than them, but we'll do those together, which is really nice. And then even with stuff on the track, like we'll find a way to like, maybe we're doing some reps together, but I might have like longer and then they go faster at the end. So it's been really great to kind of, especially just being the only one here and having come up. I think that Andrew's been really intentional about like writing workouts in a way that we can do as much as possible together.
Oh, that's really good. I was worried about that too.
No, I've definitely had company for sure.
So in other important news, I saw on Instagram you have a new dog. Can you tell us about your new dog?
Yes, I got a baby when I moved up here. I was going to be alone in an apartment, and just everyone agreed I needed a little companion. So I actually adopted through the service where they like talk to you on the phone and kind of get to know you and kind of pair you with someone in your region that I think like makes sense for you. And so I talked to them, and there was actually another one that I had picked out, and then they sent me her, which is interesting because actually when they sent me pictures of her, she had like some pretty significant injuries before I got her, and she didn't really have like fur on her face in the pictures and everything. And they're like, no, she's like really sweet. She's getting better. So I was like so nervous to meet her just with all of her injuries. But then I met her, and I just feel like we had like a connection. A lot of her injuries are getting better. She has fur on her face now. Her name is Ava, and she's just been like the best little companion. She runs probably around like 15 miles a week with me, which has been really fun as well. She's a little pace pusher though, so that's been interesting. But no, she's just been really fun. She's probably younger than I thought she was, because I wanted to get like an adult dog, and the vet let me know she's probably closer to a year or under. So she's a little bit more puppy than I thought I was getting into, but she's honestly really good for the most part, and it's been so fun.
Some of your fitness gets credited to Ava.
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, she's just, I'll bring her on days when we have like 2 runs. I'll take her on the shorter of the 2, or the one that's like not a workout. And then if I'm like about to go to the airport, I'll bring her on a run with me so that, she remembers that I loved her and took care of her that day.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad you got someone to snuggle with and be with you so you're not alone. I mean, my dogs, they're terrors, absolute terrors, but I love them so much, and I can't wait to see them, even though they torment me every day.
No, I mean, they're just so fun, and they just always love you so much, even if they destroyed the house while you were gone.
That's right, because they saw a zebra. They didn't know.
Yeah, they thought it was going to be a really good surprise for you.
That's right. It's exactly what you wanted, right?
You were like, Mom's going to love this.
I'm working all day.
So I know you and I were talking, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but you've been reading a lot of books too, haven't you, girl?
Yes. Well, okay. So sometimes, you can watch too much TV, or not in general, but I feel like when I'm watching TV for hours on end that I'm just like brain dead. But with the weekends that the girls are away, especially, I'm like, well, what do I do? And so it's like, I'd either be watching TV or reading a book or walking her. But part of like the whole running job is to be sitting and recovering. And so, yes, I read a lot of books in January. I still have a lot on the shelf that are in my like to be read pile. So that's good. But yeah, that's been one of those things where since I was a kid, I just love to read. I mean, my mom's a kindergarten teacher, so I'm sure part of that is just, she did all of like the early childhood things, which is like the reading the books, the teaching to read. And so I, read at like a really young age, and it's always been one of my favorite things. But yeah, especially here when the girls are gone on the weekend, I'm just, and just sitting around like waiting for them to race so I can watch them for 2 minutes on TV or 4 minutes on TV if they're running a mile. It's just a good, it passes the time.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite book of from the last month?
Oh gosh. I really love Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. It was really sweet. I'm not normally a romance person. I'm normally more of like a historical fiction kind of person, or like thriller. But that one was a pleasant surprise. I really loved it. Highly recommended.
All right. Well, I'll put it on my list with my pile of books on my bedside table too.
My mom had read another book by her over the summer, and I borrowed it. So I was like, I just need to. She's a good author. All of her books have been like really sweet and really heartwarming. So highly recommend.
Oh, yeah, those are good. You need those sometimes, especially.
It's like easy, like makes you feel good.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I just realized, you guys, is we always talk about a person's running story and how they got into the sport. And we just, because we know you and we couldn't wait to talk to you, just totally skipped. So people who are listening to this podcast and don't know you at all have no idea like your background. So, or like how you got into the sport. So why don't we circle back, and instead of it being the beginning of the podcast, we will talk about it at the end. But can you tell us a little bit about how you got into running?
Yeah, I got into running. I guess the first race I ever ran was in 5th grade. It was a 400-meter race. It was like an inter-elementary school track meet. But prior to that, I was actually, I think I hold the record for the slowest mile where the kid was actually trying at my elementary school, which was more just being late. But it was embarrassing. So that was the first race. And then I ran middle school track, but not cross country. I ran the 800 and the 1600, but I also long jumped, I triple jumped, I threw the discus. I just did any event that you would put me in. I ran like 4x1, 4x2, just whatever in 6th grade. Cause we just had like a really amazing middle school coach. She was our elementary school PE teacher. And that 6th grade year was actually her last year coaching middle school track. So that was kind of the only year in middle or high school that I really feel like I had a full team experience and got to do all of the events and everything, which is interesting because that was kind of my introduction to the sport. And then it was like the last year that I, even through college, had a team with like all of the events represented. So that was a really fun start. And she was, I feel like along the way, like I've had good coaches here and there that just, had me do so much less than I probably could have at that point. And I just think that that was such a gentle introduction. Like I remember the longest I ever ran in practice was like 800 meters. And I just think that that's such like a good thing for someone's like longevity, is just taking it super slow. So I continued to run track in middle school. That 6th grade year was I think it was my fastest year of middle school, just with kind of having like a smaller, like more unstructured thing after that. But it was always something that was kind of secondary because I played volleyball and like that was my thing. And you might think because I was short, I was libero, I was a setter, which is the person who always has second touch on the ball. So I think more so than being short was that I would always kind of get to wherever the ball was and get that second touch and not really get tired through matches. So that was maybe like an early hint, but it's not the typical like, oh, I played soccer and I didn't get tired. It was like, I played volleyball. So that was kind of my like middle school and even 9th grade. I didn't run cross country. I played volleyball. The whole school did, I think, the same thing in the weight room, which one part of it was like the 800-meter run. And just everyone did that. And I played and I was like pretty good at it. And I think the cross country team like needed a 5th person or something for region. And so you had to run like one meet before region and then you had to be eligible to go compete. And so I was kind of like getting excited for track that year. And I kind of wanted to do better because I kind of got like the running bug in middle school and like ran a little bit over the summer going into 9th grade. And so I asked the coaches, like, hey, could I like run a meet as a time trial? And they were like, well, yeah, we kind of need another girl. So that actually works out pretty well. And so I ran one cross country meet and then region and state. And I just like fell in love with cross country. I thought it was so fun. I wouldn't say like I did anything like spectacular that first year. I mean, I got like 16th at state, 15th or 16th, something like that. So it wasn't like this huge success that first year, but I just remember like really getting the bug for it and, training over the winter for track. And then just after track season that freshman year, I was just like, yes, like this is my thing. And so kind of had like a rotating wheel of coaches in high school. It just, I don't think one semester after the other I ever had the same person. So I just, kind of did the best I could with what I kind of could read about running in a magazine or gather from like other coaches. I did have a track coach like sophomore and junior year who was, really knowledgeable about, I think more so throws. Like his son throws at Auburn and his daughter was a really good thrower for another school. But that was probably the most structure I ever had in like a training situation in high school. But I just remember like loving the competition and loving the girls I raced against. I probably had just as many like good friends from racing on the weekends as I did like at school. So I just loved the community and everything. And then was fortunate enough to go to Furman, which was an awesome like team environment. Those girls that were on the cross country team with me are still my best friends. One of them actually came up when I moved, so that was super fun to have her here for the first few days. I'm actually going to get to race one of my old teammates this weekend, or at least she's on the entry list, so I hope so. So yeah, it's just, that was such a fun team environment, and I probably didn't have as much individual success as I would have liked there. So I was just really fortunate to get to come back to it after school and feel like I can fully explore, like, what can I do in the sport now?
And you kind of touched upon it, but what is it that you like most about running? What's your favorite part of it?
Well, I don't know. I really like the team part. I grew up as an only child, so I always wanted a sibling. And like running is such an individual sport to a lot of people, but I really like the team part. Like, when I'm in races, when I do my best is when I'm thinking about my teammates or my coaches. And I know like in a road race, that's, your result doesn't necessarily impact their opportunities or their results, but it's still like you want to like represent the team the best you can and make them proud, which is probably why I've always loved cross country the most, because it does like really matter how everyone does together on the day. But that is my favorite part.
Yeah, it's such a great part of running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really helps you get the most out of you when you're thinking about other people.
Yeah,
I'm dying, but I need to keep going for my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, EG, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for coming on, and especially for our first episode back after a little break, where we're clearly a little rusty since we didn't ask you these important questions first.
Okay, me too.
So, no, this has been really great. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening today. We are so happy that you're here. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend. Even better, share it on social media, because sharing is caring. And the more people we can reach, the better.
Another way you can help us out is by leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. So give us those 5 stars and tell us how awesome we are. Really, we love to hear how awesome we are. To support our work financially, you can also join our Patreon squad at patreon.com/morethanmiles. Where for a few dollars a month, you can help us keep the show going and growing.
This season is sponsored by Fast Bananas. Why buy multiple subscriptions made for everyone when you can have one specifically crafted for runners? Fast Bananas has online yoga classes, strength training programs, meditations, recipes, communities to ask questions, and so much more. Check out Fast Bananas at fastbananas.com or follow them on Instagram at fastbananasrun.
Don't forget that training is so much more than miles.